Good morning, welcome to Tuesday. So today's skill we are reading and writing decimals as fractions, and today is the 9th of February. Okay, so we have got the frozen theme this week because I thought with the snow it just makes sense. Okay, hopefully you still managed, if you didn't get out on Sunday to play in the snow, hopefully you did yesterday because there was still some snow about, lots of it. And it's still very icy today. Okay, so your arithmetic today is your 8 times tables. Your silver challenge is fractions again, but today you're subtracting rather than adding. And your gold challenge is to multiply 2-digit numbers by 3-digit numbers instead of 2-digit by 2 digits. Okay, so take your time with those and then come back when you're ready for the answers. Okay, so here are the answers, and you can see for silver, like yesterday, I've simplified some of the answers for the fractions, so don't worry if you haven't got the simplified answer. Okay, so still give yourself a tick if you've got 9/12 rather than 3/4. Okay, so let's look at recap then. So yesterday we were looking at decimals, up to 2 decimal places, so can you put these decimals in order, from smallest to biggest? So look carefully. Okay, pause the video whilst you do that and then come back and I'll show you. Okay, so we can see we've got 0.18, so we have got 1/10 and 8/100ths. Okay, and this one is 1/10 and 300ths, so this one's going to go first. Okay, so it's going to go 0.13. We can look at the number after the decimal point. 0.13, 0.18. We know that 0.5 is smaller than 0.6, so 0.57, 0.62. From smallest to biggest. Okay, see if you can have a go at matching these. Again, pause video, take your time, make sure you're reading them carefully and checking your answers, and then I shall show you the answers. Okay, so 7 ones, 4/10 and 5/100ths. Okay, we've only got one of those which has got 7 ones. Okay, and that's this one. So it's got 7 ones, 4/10 and 5/100ths. The next one is 5 ones, 7/10 and 4/100ths. So we can see we've got 5 ones here and 5 ones there, but which one's got 7/10? Okay, this has got 4/10 and 7/100ths, this has got 7/10 and 4/100, so it's there to trick you. Make sure you're reading those carefully. Then we know that 4 ones is only one option, and then finally we've got 5 ones, 4/10 and 7/100ths. Okay, what fraction is represented here? Okay, so thinking about our work from last week, what fraction is represented? Remember how we found fractions? We have to find the denominator is how many equal parts something has been divided into. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've got 10 across and 10 down. Now we know that 10 times 10 is 100. But how many are shaded? Okay, so what fraction? For our numerator we need to find how many are shaded. We've got 1, so that's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. We've got 90 over 100. Okay, now when we work in decimals it's the same as 0.90. Because 0.90 means 90 out of 100. Now 100 would just be a number 1. It's one whole. Okay, but we don't have to include this 0. Okay, we can just say 0.9 or 0.9 because the 0 on the end, it's not telling us anything. Okay, we know that there's no tenths because otherwise there'd be a number there. So we can say 0.9. Now sometimes it does get a little bit confusing because sometimes we think it just means 9 out of 100. Okay, but but it doesn't. So it's really, really have to be careful there. Okay, so this time we've got 100. What fraction have we got? Okay, so we can see we've got 10, 20, 30, 34, 36, 38, 39, 40, 41. 41 out of 100. How are we going to write that as a decimal? Okay, well, if we know 0.9 or 0.90, if you want to remember, is 90, 41 out of 100 is going to be 0.41, because we've got 41 shaded parts out of 100. Okay, so what fraction is shown in both representations? So both of these representations, so we've got the 100 square, or a shape divided into 100 equal pieces, and we've got some place value counters. What fraction is it showing? Okay, so we can see we've got 5 pieces shaded out of the 100, and we've got 5 counters, but they're not one counter, so it's not 5 whole, and they're not tenths because they're not 0.1, they're hundredths. Okay, so it's going to be 0.05, because we've got 5 of these, so we've got 5 hundredths. Okay, so have a go at printing or drawing this activity. Okay, see if you can find the fractions and the decimal equivalents. So you've got to find the yellow. So how many yellow parts out of 100 do you have? You're going to write it as a fraction, and then you're going to write it as a decimal. You're going to do the same with the pink and the same with the blue. Okay, if you're at home and you haven't perhaps got the colouring pencils, that's fine. You could just draw the same amount of squares and just write the initial first. So you could do Y for yellow, P for pink, B for blue in the boxes. Okay, if you want an extra challenge, can you colour 0.05 of the shape red and 14 hundredths green? How much is left unshaded? So how much of the shape is left unshaded? So have a go at that, pause the video. Okay, if you do want to print it out, that's absolutely fine. It's on the resources for you. Okay, you can stick it in your books. If you want to draw it out, that's also fine. And the answers are also on the resources, okay? So you can have a look after you've completed the activity. In fact, have a look after you've completed all the activities, because there's another answer on there as well. Okay, so we know that 90 over 100, so 90 hundredths is the same as 0.90. Okay, or we could say 0.9. I'm just putting the 0 there to remind you, but we don't need it. We know that 41 hundredths is 0.41. So what's 5 hundredths? How do we write 5 hundredths? And we're going to write 0.5. No. If I wrote 0.5, it would mean 0.50, which means 0.50, which means 50 out of 100. We've only got 5 out of 100. So it's going to be 0.05. Okay. If we know that 90 over 100 is 0.90, what's 9/10 going to be? Have a think about that. Perhaps pause the video and have a discussion. What would 9/10 be? So 9/10 is exactly the same, because 9/10 is equivalent to 90 over 100. So it is still 0.9 or 0.90, because this can be times multiplied by 10, okay, but our decimal number doesn't change because it's just the fraction is an equivalent fraction. Okay, have a go at matching the fractions here to their decimal equivalents. So we've got 6/100ths, 6/10ths, 65/100ths. Have a go at doing that. Quite tricky sometimes, aren't they? Oh, I just said the word tricky again. Must stop that. Okay, so let's have a look. So we've got 6/100ths. Is it going to be this one, 0.6, or this one, 0.06? Okay, it's going to be this one because we have got 6 out of 100. Okay, this is our ones, this is our tenths, and we haven't got any tenths in 6. This is our hundredths. Okay, so then we've got 6/10ths here. Now 6/10ths is an equivalent fraction of 60/10ths, and 0.6 represents the 60. And then we have 65 over 100, which of course is 0.65. Okay, for your next activity, I would like you to draw and complete this table. Okay, again, you don't have to draw it. If you've got a printer and you'd like to print it, then it is on the resources sheet along with the answers on the answers one. But by all means, you can draw it. It's not going to take long at all, and it's probably going to be quicker to draw it than it is to print it and fill it in. Okay, so you've got the fractions down the left hand side, and then you've got the decimals. Okay, so you need to write this fraction and what it is as a decimal. Then you're going to this time you've got the decimal but you haven't got the fraction, and you can do these ones here. Okay, so pause the video, take your time while you do that, and come back when you're ready to move on. Here we go, I've got the answers for you, so you don't even have to look at the answers on the resources. So we've got 25/100ths is the same or equal to 0.25. It's also equivalent to 1/4. We've got 7/100ths, so that's 0.07. Okay, if it was 70/100ths, it would be 0.7. We've got 1/2 here. Now that one was a little bit difficult because you had a half, but did you know what the half was? Okay, well, if we're looking at a denominator of 100, we know that half of 100 is 50, and this decimal here represents 0.5, which is 50/100ths, which is a half. And then we've got 7/10ths, which we know is an equivalent fraction of 70/100ths, so it's 0.70 or 0.7. Well done if you managed to do those. Okay, so your final thought for today. Seth says 1/4 is equal to 0.25. Letitia says 1/4 is equal to 1.4. Who is correct? Can you prove it? Can you write it down? Can you show me? Perhaps it might be a really good idea to draw 100 square, perhaps. Or you can, as long as you can prove it and explain your answer, then that would be great. Pause the video and come back when you're ready, and I shall tell you the answer. Okay, so Seth says 1/4 is equal to 0.25. Letitia says 1/4 is equal to 1.4. Now we know Seth is correct because 1/4 is equal to 25/100ths, which is also equal to 0.25. Letitia down here says 1/4 is equal to 1.4. Now 1/4 isn't one whole, okay? It's less than a whole, and 1.4 is 1 whole and 4/10ths. So Letitia hasn't quite understood the fractions and decimals work today. Hopefully you have. Okay, so well done for today's work. Fingers crossed that you're finding the decimals okay. As always, please do send me your work, especially if you're really proud of it, or perhaps you're somebody that hasn't sent me any work before. I'd really love to see it and see how you're getting on. Okay, even if you're watching the videos and you're finding it okay, then message me and just say, oh, Mrs. Coleman, I really like the decimals today, or I'm finding it a little bit difficult. Please do let me know how you are getting on. And again, if you're happy for me to share your work, I will do so on our pin board, because it's really great for your friends to see and for other children to see that you're also doing the work. Okay, so great job. Enjoy this afternoon. This afternoon is also with me, and we are doing something a little bit different today. We're not doing science, a little bit different, but you've got English next. So enjoy that, and I shall see you again this afternoon. Bye.